Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our Tuesday webcast, 5 ways you can securely run and grow your business using Microsoft 365 Business Premium. My name is Dave Groot, and I will be your presenter today. We oftentimes are talking with clients and or prospects about the Microsoft 365 platform, and often we get a lot of questions and misunderstanding as to what is all incorporated in that. And in today's world, many businesses are facing a host of technology challenges, keeping your technology current, dealing with a mobile workforce, protecting your customer data, cybersecurity, on and on and on it goes. So we're going to try and clear up, some of those questions and show you an overall picture of how Microsoft 365 Business Premium can help you to securely run and grow your business. We are WinStar Technologies, and we are in Culpeper, Virginia. And my name is Dave Groot, and I've been in the consulting and IT business since 1994. And I can remember dealing with clients and businesses in our area here in Culpeper when the internet first came out, and having to try and convince them that they really wanted to try and use this new tool, this new place called the internet. And as a result of how things have progressed in time, cybersecurity has become quite an element in our world. And here you can see me just conducting a cybersecurity awareness training session. And on this next screen, you'll see when I was doing my media tour from, I had written a book, The Threat is Real, Protecting You and Your Family from the Global Threat of Cybercrime. And then I was able to go around the country and do some newscasts and book promotion. And I spoke at NASDAQ, met Damon John and Kevin Mitnick, who is a famous hacker. So we've been having fun with this for some time now. So last year in April of 2020, yep, everything used to be called Office 365. And now we are seeing some new SKUs that are called Microsoft 365. And more importantly, in the prior, maybe a year or two ago, before the Microsoft 365 Business series came out, and then the Business Premium, which is the new name, there was really not a lot of Microsoft Cloud solutions that were designed specifically for the small business platform. They had an enterprise SKU, but they did not have the, something that was priced in a budget of a small business that gave a lot of the security features that came with the enterprise SKUs. But now, because they've seen that that is quite a need for all businesses of all sizes, they've actually came up with this Microsoft 365 Business Premium SKU. And with that, it's $20 per user per month for that particular product. And this gives you an entire, everything you need to basically, run your business, but more importantly, do it in a secure way using the benefits of the cloud, as well as some of the traditional things like the Microsoft applications for your desktop. But you'll see there is 3 levels of the business series. The Business Premium, again, is the one that we're going to focus on today. And this has many additional products over just the apps. A lot of people think that the Microsoft 365 product is Word and Excel and PowerPoint, and that's just really a small part of it, as you can see here in this particular graphic. I do have Justin is also with us today in my office, and he will be answering any questions that you might have. So as we go through this process, please feel free to pop in any questions that you might have. We're going to get into a little bit of discussion about the Microsoft 365 Premium, and then we're going to get into some demonstrations so that you can kind of get a handle on how it all works together. So Microsoft brings together the best-in-class productivity tools like Microsoft Office, things we've used forever. But then we bring in also with that the Exchange server for your email capabilities, and then Windows 10, which is also a much more secure operating system, and it's designed to work with all these services together. Basically, you're able to get more done, work better together, build your business while safeguarding your data, all in a simplified way. Today, we're gonna see how we can get more done with the intelligent tools that are built into Microsoft. Some of the security features. We're going to take a look quickly at the Microsoft Teams and how we can collaborate with our colleagues and prospects using those tools. We're going to try and demonstrate how you can get more done on the go. We have a mobile workforce today. COVID has certainly affected our economy. People are still working from home, even though we are starting to see some light at the end of that tunnel. But we're going to get into just how all these different things tie together. But then after that, we're going to go into some of the administration aspects of it so that we can just show you how to set up the devices and how to manage those things, as well as a couple of the security features that are built into the process. We're going to go over some products, how Outlook can help you interact with your clients, but then another app that's called Bookings and how that ties in. And possibly we'll talk about Planner as well. These are just some of the productivity-based tools that are available in the premium subscription. So there's a layered approach to security, as always, and Microsoft certainly follows this particular model. You're going to get protection from your threats. You're going to protect your data from being exfiltrated or getting in the wrong hands, and you're going to control access to that data as well. We can do things like making sure folks who email out or share files are not able to forward that to somebody else, or maybe copy it, or even in some cases, we can say you can't print a particular document. You can simply look at it, open it, potentially collaborate, make some edits, but not take that data outside of your machine and hand it off to somebody else. How are we doing, Justin? Okay?
Yep, we're doing great so far. No questions yet.
Okay, good. We'll look at some of the ways that you can set up policies to manage devices like both computers and your mobile devices, tablets and or mobile phones, how you can manage your users, and how we tie that security in all into one administrative console, making it easier for somebody to manage these things for their business. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and see if we can break everything and get into a little bit of a demonstration. If you'll bear with me, I'll try and switch out. Okay. So we're going to live in the life of Megan, who is a small business owner today. And I'm going to kind of show you some of the things that can be done from an end user's perspective, just to use the tools and how they tie things together for you. So today, as I said, businesses are facing a host of technology challenges, keeping their hardware current. And now we have a mobile workforce working from home and working everywhere. And we still need to protect all of the company data. Used to be the company data was all held in the network. It was, protected by firewalls and, guys with guns and servers and the whole 9 yards. And if you couldn't get it out of the building, it was all fine. Then the internet came along, and now people aren't even working in the office any longer. So we have computers that, are coming from all different places, coffee shops, kitchens, what have you. And we need to keep that stuff secure. But we also need to allow our folks to be able to do what it is they're looking to do. And be able to be efficient and effective for the business. So Teams is a great product, and it's pretty much the hub of the Microsoft 365 world. You're going to find quite a bit of the different technologies ultimately can come together in Teams should you decide to use that for that particular function. And there are other ways always to do things, but we're going to bring it to this point so that you can kind of see how it goes. But right now I'm just looking, Megan has a launch coming up in her company. So she's created a launch team, and you'll notice that there are a series of what we refer to underneath this team called channels. And the first channel is general. The benefit of a team in Teams is that we can pick specific members of our staff or our organization, and we can make them a member of the team. And by such, they're always able to go to this general channel. But then I can break out additional channels and I can make them all inclusive, meaning everybody in the team can be a part of those channels, or I can make the channels private and I can invite a subset of those people to a particular channel. In this case, she's dealing with the design channel, and she hasn't been able to communicate with her team for a couple of days, so she's able to come back here and look at the static chat. This is the activity board conversations, and she's just able to kind of see what's been done. She can scroll up into the previous earlier threads. You see here, like, this has got a video in it, and you're able to click on that video. It's pretty interactive. Also note, we have the conversations. That's what we're looking at here. There's also files and design notebook, which we'll cover here in just a moment. And these are just different sections that deal with the design team or the design channel in the launch team, right? It's all specific to this topic. And if I continue to scroll up, you'll see I'm just looking at earlier threads in the thing. I have another link up at the top here next to conversations that is called files. And if I click on files, that's where I'm able to look at files that are, part of this project or this team's initiative or whatever the focus is of this particular team. Again, these are available to whomever has access to this particular channel. And it's just a way to kind of organize your file structure based on, what the needs of your business are. If it's role based or if it's department based, you can build out teams in that way. And this is sort of how we've replaced the file server and the way that the shared drives used to be configured and mapped out. So we have, conversations, and we have files, and then we have like the design notebook. These are different features of this particular channel. And if I wanted to add something else to this, I do have a list of apps that I can, pick to bring into, again, just this particular channel for this particular focus. It can be used in other places, in other teams as well, but this focus is for, again, the design channel. And you'll note if I scroll down, there's quite a few of them there. I'm not going to do that for right now. I just wanted to make sure you understood you could do that. Justin, we doing okay? Questions?
So far, so good.
Pretty quiet. Okay. All right. Well, that's either we're doing a good job or we're keeping them, we're putting them to sleep. So the next link over here is the design notebook, and this is just a OneNote notebook. So the OneNote app was added, and then a note file was created so that we can keep notes for the entire team, where they can come in and make edits and changes, and they can look at that as well. Now, if I look here, I see that I need to, I have a meeting that needs to be scheduled. So on the left-hand side, if I were to click on the meetings icon, I would see a calendar. This is my calendar. This is reflecting my day. And I would be able to, at the bottom here, click schedule a meeting. And if I click on that, I'm able to give it a title. Obviously, this would need to be something that's relevant to whomever is going to be included in this particular meeting. And then if I want, I can make this meeting specific to my channel, right? So, or my team. So I'm going to click on launch team, and then I'm going to go to the design channel. And if I want to invite somebody from that particular team, when I start typing in the box, it brings up a list of the members of that channel, and I can click on that particular person and then say schedule the meeting. Obviously, there's things like the date and the time and so forth, and the details for that meeting. So now that we've scheduled the meeting, I can see here on the left, I see the chat icon, and I can tell that there's one unread message there. So if I click in that, I can see that Lydia has sent me a message wanting to know if we can chat, and I can certainly reply to that message by typing in there and then clicking the arrow here to send that out. And if I want to take it to the next level, sometimes chat just doesn't quite cut it. I can simply click on the telephone icon up here at the top. The video icon would open up a video call. If you have a camera on both machines, both people would see each other. Or if you just want to speak over audio, then you can just click on that and it picks it right up and it calls that particular person, assuming that they answer the call. You're then in that particular conversation with that person. Okay, so if we choose at the top now my email program, a couple of new things. The Outlook Web Access is what we're looking at here. And you can see in my inbox, I do have both focused and other. Generally, this is a feature that Outlook kind of pays attention over time and knows who it is that you're communicating with a pretty regular basis. And so it makes sure messages from those people or things that it thinks are important for you will show up in the focused tab. And then the other tab is simply things that uh, aren't as important, but are still qualified as inbox emails. So it's basically taking your inbox and breaking it into two buckets. Ideally, that's going to help keep things clean. And if I click on other, you can see that I've got just a subset of that particular folder in there. And so now if I go back to focus, everybody gets a 50 gigabyte mailbox in Microsoft Business Premium. So there's plenty of room for email and storing those messages over time. You can see here we've got plenty of messages and I can scroll down that list. She notices some requests there that she's going to need to go to her to-do list in a little bit and make some changes. So if I come back up here, I see that I've got an email from Bob Kelly. And if I highlight that particular email, I have the icons here in the Outlook Web Access. Again, this is very similar to the Outlook program itself on your computer, but I'm doing it in simply a web browser. And I can delete, I can mark read or unread, I can flag an email, or I can pin it so that it always stays at the top of the list. In this particular case, I'm going to flag this message because it's got some things I need to do, and I don't want to forget about that. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. That puts that into my to-do list. And if I then click down, I should see another email about project update. And the nice thing here too is if I'm looking at this particular email and I'm noticing, that they want to schedule a meeting, right? I can come right over here to the reply all menu and I can click on that. And instead of just doing a reply or reply all, I can reply all by meeting. So when I do that, it's creating a reply where I can then type in here and reply to that particular message, but I can go with setting up a Teams meeting at the same time. And so you'll notice that Outlook or Teams, which is a function of the calendar and the meeting and such, it's picking a time automatically that is not in conflict for any of the attendees in this particular meeting. In this case, I'm going to change the date from the 15th to the 22nd, and it's going to still pick what is a optimal time or a time that there is no conflict for either of those attendees. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and send out that invite to the person. And if I then come down here to my calendar, I should see that I've got that added to my calendar as well. Also note, just for a feature, I guess, is that you can see what the weather is. So when you're stuck in your office or in your house or what have you, working from home, you can see the icons at the top of the days and it tells you what the weather forecast is going to be. Another feature in the Outlook Web Access is that there is the interesting calendars link, so you can add calendars for things that might be of interest to you. In this case, let's say Megan wants to watch some soccer and she is a Minnesota fan, right? So if we put that particular calendar on, now I'm seeing that that calendar is listed next to mine. And if I go through, I can see the different, this is the soccer game versus, a weekly call or what have you. And if I want, I notice on the left also, I have under groups, I have a group calendar for that launch team, right? So back in Teams, we had the design channel and the launch team. And if I click on that, I can see all the different things that are scheduled for that particular team. And that, again, next to my calendar. So I'm able to kind of, make sure everything is not in conflict. And I can then go on the bottom left here, I can go to the tasks section, and you'll see that I've got a couple of tasks listed out. One of which is I need to create an investor proposal as like a slide deck. And so I'm going to maximize, let's see, I'm gonna bring PowerPoint up right now. And here's my slide deck, right? So one of the nice things in PowerPoint today is that I don't have to be a designer to make it look nice. I generally, these are my PowerPoint slide presentations, just like you see here, white background, text, maybe a picture, but for the most part, it's just get the point out, and people are visually oriented. So now we can go under the design tab and we can come over here to design ideas, and I'm able to then, based on content, PowerPoint's gonna try and do a good job of showing me what it thinks should be the a good look. And you notice I can scroll down and there's a couple of different options that I can pick from here. And I think I'll choose the first one for this one, but then I'll quickly go to slide 2. I think I like that design for that one. And I think this one looks good here. And we'll go with that. And so now I've got my PowerPoint all nice and spiffy. And the next thing is I'm going to want to maybe share that information, right, with somebody in my office. So if I go to my OneDrive, I can see that there's my investor proposal that I want to then share out. So just these are the files that are under, you know, my documents or my pictures or my desktop kind of stuff. And if I click this button here, this is the share button. I'm able to then pick somebody either in the organization or somebody external, depending on the permissions in your business, and just click send, and you're basically sending a link to them that allows them access to that particular file. So a couple things there too. When you're sharing files and you're sending out those links, that's the point at which you could say, don't allow them to copy it or download it or print it. So Megan sent that over to Lydia to be able to work on it. So we're going to kind of play a little game here. We're going to show you Megan's view, right? This is, you know, she's looking at it in her web browser. But then if I go to another session, this is Lydia's view of this. She's got the same file open. She's now got the email. She's clicked on the link. It's opened up in a web browser, and she's going to make some changes on it. And you'll notice there's these kind of green boxes around the different sections of that. And if I click inside the text area here to make some changes, now I'll go back over to Megan's view, and you'll notice if Megan were to click on that same slide, I can see now that Lydia is indeed in this file based on these icons here and this green border, and the fact that her name is up here in the top right, just showing me that that she's sharing it as well. Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Bookings. Bookings is an app or a program that comes with a Microsoft 365 business premium subscription, and it allows you to create it's like a service booking page, right? It's a place where somebody can go 24/7 and they can book an appointment or they can ask for a particular service. And you would set that up based on, notice like things here, I can select staff. So if I create, you know, if you as the business owner create a bookings page and you have a service in there that multiple people are capable of delivering, you can add the staff members that are responsible for that particular service, and then people can pick the person that they want, or you can have it so that they can't pick. You just have all kinds of different features. But this is looking at calendars of people in the list of qualified staff to give you times that people could pick to book an appointment. And if they scroll down, you'll see that they're able to add their name and their email, and they're able to put in a few notes and then book a particular time. And if I come here, this is the back side of the bookings page. This is where I set it up. And you'll notice right now I'm able to just grab a link of this particular page that I could then post on my commercial website. I could put it in Facebook. I could send it in an email. I can put it on Twitter. You can actually connect this bookings page to Facebook. So if you have a Facebook page and you want it on there, you're able to do that. And you'll notice down here that we have some scheduling things here. How many days ahead of time do they need to book, or in hours? That way you have enough lead time to be able to facilitate and deliver the service. And here's like on the left, where if we went to staff, right, that's where we would add the people that we want to be available to deliver this particular service. And here on the left, if I go to services, I can add additional services. And right now, I've got one set up here. It's just an initial consult for 1 hour. And there's no particular staff, although you saw a moment ago, the only staff member is Megan inside there. And if I wanted to add a service to this, I would just click on that and I would give it a name and description. I can say what the default time is. Notice if the default price, I click on that, I have a couple of different options. It can be a fixed price, it can be a starting at, hourly, free, price varies, what have you. All right, I'm not going to save this particular one, so I'm just going to click discard. And then I'm going to look on the left, I'm going to go to the calendar. And again, if there was multiple staff members as a part of this particular service, you would see multiple calendars listed. And now I'm going to click here and I'm going to go back to Outlook. So this is the app launcher. In any of the Microsoft online applications, right, there's always this button up in the top left corner. And if I click on it, it brings up all the different web apps that I can navigate to. So if I click on Outlook at this point, it's going to take me, I had it open in another tab, but it just takes me right over there. And here's like a bookings consultation came in. That's from the bookings page. That's pretty much what I wanted to show you from the end user perspective. You see it's a, it's tying all these different applications. Again, we looked at Outlook, right? We looked at Teams, we looked at files and OneDrive, we looked at PowerPoint, we used Word, and we used the bookings app. So they all kind of tie together. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Teams is the central hub for that. Justin, how are we doing on questions? Any questions? That's
so far we're still good.
Everybody with me? All right. We're doing good on time. So now I'm going to get into the admin side. I want to show you a couple of the administrative features that kind of tie back to this same scenario, and how to configure some of those policies. Bear with me for 1 second, please. Okay, so here we are in the admin console. This particular console is the Microsoft Security Center, the Microsoft 365 Security Center. And we're going to just take a look at a couple of the different policies that you can create that kind of tie back to securing your data. Again, keeping in mind the things that we wanted to show you was how you can work together, how you can do it securely, and how it's not overly complicated to administer or set up a lot of these different things. So if we go to the policies tab on the left here, we will see that there's a couple of different categories. For the moment, I'm going to focus on what is called ATP Safe Links. And that's basically, it helps people avoid when they get phishing emails, right? And the hacker or the threat actor, whoever is sending this phishing email, is putting a link into the email that generally doesn't go where it's made to look like it's going to go. And in many cases, it's going to have some malware or some payload on the other side. And that's probably the biggest entry point for a hacker into an organization today, is by some action of a person that they've invoked, generally through a phishing email. So Microsoft has this ATP Safe Links, where when it sees a link, it's going to, when you click it, it's going to open it in a what we call a sandbox on the back end, make sure it's not malicious and that there is no payload. And if it is, it's going to let you then go to that site. And if it's not going to let you go there. So to kind of, that's just the backstory. But if we go into the safe links, you'll see that first up, there is a default policy for the organization, and that's pretty much out of the box. And if I were to click on this pencil, I could take a look at some of the things in here, some of the settings that we would want to do. One thing I want to draw your attention to is we now have the ability to also incorporate this into things aside from email, right? Teams, your phone, that kind of stuff. So we want to protect those areas as well. And so I would recommend that you would check that box there and just make sure that that's turned on. And then, so this is for the entire organization, right? It's the default policy at the top, but I can also have policies that are specific to a particular group of people or specific individuals. And in this case, if I click the plus, it's going to go ahead and allow me to create a new policy. And I'll give this the safe links name. And then notice, the action for unknown potentially malicious URLs is, off here. I'm going to turn that on so that it does that. And then I want to apply that URL scanning, the real time, the one that I described to you. And I also want to do that for emails that are sent internally. So it's not something that I'm just worried about outside people sending in. Potentially, if one of my users' email gets compromised and then they send an email to the CEO with a malicious link, I want this still to be protecting them as well. And then I'm going to not let them click through to the original URL. Then I'm going to take a peek down here and I need to apply it to something, right? In this case, we're going to apply it to the email domain. So if I say the recipient domain is, and then this is our email domain. So if I click that, that pretty much means all email that comes in to us, period, is going to have this policy applied to it. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. And you'll notice now that I've got the new policy here, as well as the default organization policy here. Okay, so I'm going to close this because we made that. And we're back now to the policies. And if I go to my mail, I should be able to test that theory. If I come in here, I have an email. This was sent from Brian Johnson and somebody forwarded him this information. So he just was kind enough to turn right around and forward it to us. And you'll notice there's the words, this site, but I'm suspecting that that link is not going to take us to anywhere nice. So when I click on that link, because it is known to be malicious, this is the page that the user is going to see. Now, this can be customized and it can be branded, and you can put your own message here. This is against our company policy, blah, 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 blah. Anything you want so that they know why they're not getting to where they're trying to go. Because we don't want them to keep trying, right? We want them to understand that that was a bad thing. Okay. All right. So back at the policies, now we're going to take a peek at what is called the Safe Attachments, ATP, for Advanced Threat Protection. Correct, Justin?
That's right.
Okay. And we're going to go with some safe attachments, and we're going to go ahead and add a new policy because there is no policy here. Notice, again, these safe attachments can be turned on for SharePoint, OneDrive, Microsoft Teams. We're just going to click here to create a new policy real fast. Now, so this is, identifying an attachment that contains malware. What are we doing, right? And we have some options. We can say, well, don't do anything. It's just off. It's not going to scan for anything. Or it's going to monitor. It's going to deliver the message, but it can track the, the results and then let somebody know. We can block it. We can replace it. Or we can just do what is called dynamic delivery, which means basically the attachment gets held back, the email message itself gets sent to the user, and if the attachment is scanned and comes back to be clean, it then shows up as an attachment on the email a little later on, or if it's bad, it doesn't, and then it doesn't happen. So in this case, we're going to say block.
All right, we do have a question now actually about this.
Okay.
So Brian's asking if the block malware attachment should be turned on by default.
You mean as in, is it a default setting today?
Yes, I think that's what
Yeah.
he's asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that that is now a part of the default policy, but I would have to confirm that. That's not maybe a great answer, Brian, but I'll certainly find out and get back with you. I do believe it has become part of the default settings. Does that help? Is there any other questions?
Not yet, but I'll let you know if he
Okay.
has
All right.
any.
Hopefully that helps a little bit, Brian. I'll get you the final answer here shortly. So basically, if we block, right, and when it detects that there is, malware attached, I could enable redirect on attachment, which I'm not a big fan of this concept, but this is what you can do. If it's malware, I don't know that I want it sent to me either, right? But okay. So maybe we're going to get a second opinion. And then I'm needing to, in this case, select again what this applies to. Is it a particular user? Is it an email domain, or is the member got to be a part of a particular group? And in this case, again, we're going to add the default domain. And then we're going to click save. Okay. So now we've got a policy that says if an attachment is deemed to contain malware, it's going to be blocked. It's going to redirect that attachment to Megan, who is the admin, and she's going to do whatever she feels she needs to do with that particular attachment. Any questions? Okay.
So far, we're good.
All right. Moving right along. Anti-phishing. So, you might have some highly targeted people in your office. Maybe there's some domain impersonation or user impersonation going on. We can set up some policies to kind of help us with that. So if we go in under anti-phishing, there is an option here to look at the default policy. I think that's a great place for us to start. And you'll notice there's basically a few sections that we can make changes or parameters, variables that we would want, actions, when and if, how we want things to work. And for the moment, I'm going to focus on this impersonation section. And if I just click edit, again, what am I editing? I'm editing the default policy. And so currently it's off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And then I need to say who I'm turning it on for. And in this case, I could do an entire domain, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and do an email address. This is one of the executives in the company. The phishing protections are AI based in Microsoft's anti-phishing. Then on the left here, we're going to just kind of move along. So we chose who we're going to protect. Now we're going to choose what we're going to protect. In this case, notice I can say just automatically include the domains I own. This basically means any domains you have configured inside of Microsoft 365. Many companies have more than one domain for email purposes. And if you have multiple domains set up, by clicking that, you're just adding them all. You could come here and specify specific domains if you wanted to do that. Now, if I come down here to actions, I can decide what I'm going to do with these particular impersonated emails. And so if it's sent by an impersonated user, I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just say, move it to the junk mail folder, as well as I'll do that same action here. And I'm going to then click on this link if I want to turn on safety tips, and I can turn those all on. So I can show tips for impersonated users, impersonated domains, and then unusual characters in an email, basically notifying the end user that this could potentially be not legitimate. And then if I go to the Mailbox Intelligence tab, I can enable that, which currently it is enabled. If I wanted to turn it off for some reason, I would click that, obviously, to do that. And if I'm happy with everything the way it is, then I'm going to go ahead and just come down here and I'm going to save my settings. Now here I get a recap of everything I changed. And I'm going to then say save, and then I'm going to close. And that default policy is now modified. Okay, so if we now go back to the home admin screen, I can go into Azure Active Directory here on the bottom of the left navigation menu. Azure Active Directory is the place where all of our users and groups and the security settings and such are stored when we don't have an Active Directory on premise. This is for all things Microsoft Cloud. And if I come into Azure Active Directory, I can then go into the security settings here on the left. And this is where we're going to talk about conditional access. And conditional access is actually quite a nice tool. It's the ability to create a policy and based on conditions, whether or not people are going to be able to have access to particular sections in the Microsoft environment. So are they able to log in? Are they able to are they out of the country? Are they in the country? You see here, we've got a couple of policies require multi-factor authentication for all admins. We're blocking legacy authentication. We want only modern authentication, which means newer apps, newer, not old stuff, for lack of a technical term. And so we're going to go ahead and create a new policy here. And basically, we're going to go ahead and put a name in. It's going to be conditional access based on locations. And then I just basically set up the rules here, right? So on the left, I'll click on users and groups, and I'm going to, this is include or exclude. Is it all users? I'm going to choose for this purpose, just say that, and then I'll say users and groups. And here you'll see I can pick a security group out of my Active Directory that's called all employees, and that has all employees in it, we hope. And we're going to say select and then done. So that part is taken care of. Who does this apply to? Okay, so then the next thing we're going to work on is the conditions under which it applies. And so in this case, we're going to go with a location, and we're going to configure it. So we need to turn it on, and we can say, turn it on for any location, right? Which is what we're saying. And you'll see in the end that that is what we want, with the exception of, we're going to click on exclude, and we're going to say all trusted locations. So what are we saying here so far? We're saying everybody, all employees, anywhere but a trusted location, they can have granted access, right? However, we're going to require that they use multi-factor before that access is granted. And we're going to then say select. And notice down here, when I configure these policies, I can do testing if I want to just put it in report only mode, or I can turn it on right away. And in this case, I want this policy enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and I'm creating it. So yet again, all employees, anywhere from any location except what is considered to be trusted. What is a trusted location? Well, we can set up like our home office, our corporate office could be a trusted location. So if they're sitting in the corporate office, it's safe to assume that they're a member of the organization, and therefore we're not going to require them to multi-factor authenticate when they log into the system. But if they're anywhere else, then they have to MFA. And we're going to go ahead and click create. And you'll notice now that we have a new conditional access policy right here called locations, and it is currently on. These other four are off. Okay, so now working with some of these other admin centers from the home Microsoft Admin Center, I'm going to go to compliance here on the left-hand side. And this is where I'm going to look at a few policies. In this case, we're going to talk about data loss prevention. So this is, how I'm going to protect data in particular cases from leaving the organization or going to the wrong people. And for example, if I say I want to create a policy, again, very similar format as to the last one, You've got these tabs on the left, and then as you highlight each tab, you've got all the different settings for each of those categories right here. For the sense of our demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and work with financial, and I'm going to work with the PCI data security standard, which is your credit cards in the United States here. And so basically what we're saying is we're creating a policy that relates to credit card numbers in an email or otherwise, right? So if I say next, I'm going to give it a name. It's already, defaulted to the category we chose. If you don't like that, you can certainly change it. I'm going to go ahead and say next, and I'm going to say again, where am I protecting this? In Exchange email, team chats, OneDrive, SharePoint documents. So pretty much anywhere that there's files involved, that's where we're wanting to affect this particular rule. I click on next. Notice again, it's looking for a credit card number. We can set in a format of how many digits and so forth so that it knows, it identifies it as a credit card number. I can customize it to whatever degree I'd like to do. All right. For now, we're just going to stick with the defaults. And we're going to go ahead and click next one more time. And it, notify users when the content matches that policy setting. So it's, it's letting them know, hey, you're violating a particular policy if that happens. In this case, it's talking about detecting content that's been shared and it contains at least 10 instances of the sensitive information. But in our case, we only want one. So if there's one credit card number, I mean, there can be 10, but if there's one or more, then this is going to fire that particular rule. Notice I can restrict access or encrypt the content, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and send an incident report and let the user know that that's violating the policy. So just kind of, again, for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it on right away, but I could test it first to make sure there's no negative implications, or you can turn it off and use it for later. Once I've reviewed all my settings and I'm pleased with the way that it's done, I will then click on create. And you'll see that I now have that policy established. So if I close this, I should be able to go to this and close that and go back to my mail. And if I say, let's see, I'm going to create a new message and I'll send it to Brian. And then I'm going to put the credit card number and all the other information right in that email. And you notice I haven't even sent it out. I've done nothing. It just says, hey, your email message conflicts with the policy in your organization. And if I click on the show details link, it's going to show me why or what the problem is with that particular thing. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and discard because I don't actually want to send that out. But that's kind of nice, right? And again, if it was a different end result, meaning it had to be encrypted or restricted, you could block the email from going out altogether. And okay, so if I go through one more thing, and then I click on attachment from the computer, notice it should be telling me, oh yeah, I have to click here. I can then encrypt the data right here. So what I'm trying to show you is if I create an email and it has information that could be sensitive, I'm able to click on encrypt. And I can then say, just encrypt the message and send it to them. Or I can say, encrypt the message and do not allow them to forward it, meaning it can only go to that recipient and nobody else. And I'm just going to go ahead and discard this because it's for example. Any questions about that?
So
Okay.
far, we don't have any additional questions.
All right. Moving right along. We're almost done, folks. Not too much more to go. The next thing I would like to talk to you about is Exchange. And in this case, we're going to talk about retention tags. So We have the ability inside of Exchange to set up auto archiving and or retention for email. I don't know about you folks, but I can tell you that I have been carrying along my email files since probably 1993. So I have quite a few emails. I've probably lost a few here and there throughout time, but boy, oh boy, you know, and every once in a while you got to go back and see them. So if you're looking to keep things clean, remember there is a 50 gig email box. It's not a huge deal, but if we want to archive stuff off, we can do that by creating retention tags and then actions based on that. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just show you, you know, if I click new, I'm going to automatically to the entire mailbox apply this particular retention tag, and I'll give it a name like 7-year delete. And in this case, the option that I'm going to choose for the action is to delete, but allow it to be recovered. Or keep in mind, I could make it permanently deleted, or I could simply move it to archive and it's not deleted at all. If it's been deleted with a allowing of recovery, an administrator can go into the Exchange server and they can do discovery and they can pull those emails out. So that, you know, generally speaking, um, that's when you might want to use that. So how many days, whatever 7 years times, you know, 365, 2555. And this can be, you know, a way, like you could do different retentions, but you can also use this for folks who leave the company. So you want the mailbox to be something that can be discovered, go back and grab things if you need to out of it. Okay. All right. So we also have on the left, you know, this is the general administration of Microsoft 365. I can create users, I can work with devices. If I click on devices here, I have a section called policies. This is where I can affect policies on the different types of devices that might be used in my organization. For instance, an iOS policy or an Apple iPhone type or tablet. I can click on that. And if I want to, so let's see, if I want to maybe edit this section right here, protect against lost or stolen devices, I click on edit, I can then click this arrow and I can see what my choices are. I can, you know, delete files from a device that has not checked in for 90 days. So the next time it checks in, it'll get a message to delete those files out. You can force users on their phones if they're saving files that are work related, they have to be saved in OneDrive as opposed to their iCloud drive. And then you can make sure that those files are encrypted on the phone itself. And if I click on edit here for the Office Documents access, right, I can manage how they're able to access the different you know, in the different situations. I can require a PIN or a fingerprint scan, you know, biometric, just to re-authenticate before we access these things on my phone. If the you know, login fails after 5 times, it's forcing a reset of the PIN. You can actually make them, you know, sign in after so much idle time. If the device has been jailbroken or rooted, meaning it's, you know, somebody's trying to hack the device, then it won't be allowed to connect. And then again, don't allow users to copy content from any Office apps into the personal apps. So it kind of breaks it into 2 areas on the device itself, where, you know, you have a profile for work and a profile for personal, and you're not able to copy. If you have this particular setting enabled, you're not going to be able to move data from one side to the other. And that's just, again, depending on your needs and your requirements as to what you want to be able to happen with those particular folks. Okay, so if I look here on the left under devices and I go to manage, that's where I can see that in this case, we have an iPhone that has been registered to the Microsoft Cloud. So I'm able to you know, manipulate it in some ways. And I can click on that phone and notice here I have a button that says I can remove the company data. So that's where we're doing what is called a partial wipe It's not going to erase their personal side. All their personal photos and texts and all that are going to remain untouched. But anything that was done on the business side is going to be removed from the device. So you have the ability. Now, if it's what they call corporate owned, then you can erase the entire device. But in this case, it's set up kind of like as a privately owned, bring your own device kind of situation. At which point you don't want to erase their personal stuff because they tend to not like that too terribly much. Okay, so if I go back over here to the policies for devices, I can then look at like a Windows 10 configuration, and it's similar to the iOS, but different stuff that we care about, right? So if I look under the protection settings and I click on edit, again, I have this arrow and I'm able to now affect the security settings or the device settings for Windows 10 machines that have this policy applied to them. And I'm able to use the Windows Defender so I can ensure that that's actively on. I can, there's Microsoft Edge has a smart filter. I can make sure that that's turned on. Ways to reduce the attack surface and protect folders from ransomware encryption attacks, right? All AI, all machine learning, all Microsoft's on the back end kind of making determinations based on history and what it knows to be the case. I can stop people from installing apps out of the Microsoft Store. So if I don't want Candy Crush on my Windows 10 machines in the office, I can stop that from happening. I can make sure they stay up to date with all the patches and the feature releases. I can turn off tips and advertisements from Microsoft, which is a blessing. And so that works out very nicely. And once I've made all those changes, I can then click save and then close. And now if I go back home, that's going to take us to the end of our demonstration. So let's see if we can go back and wrap up. Okay, I appreciate y'all working with me and sticking with me going through that whole demonstration setting there. And just to kind of go back over what we talked about very quickly, the Microsoft 365 Business Premium is a one subscription answer. You can piecemeal these things together in other ways using third-party products, but I promise you, you're not going to get all this stuff tied together in the same way for $20 per user per month. Remember, we're able to get more done. We're able to work better together. We can build our business, and it's keeping my data safe, all while simplified administration is configured. I would like to invite you to join us next month on the 18th of May, again at 1 o'clock on Tuesday. We're going to be covering the getting in sync with cloud computing. Ideally, this is going to help to make sense of all the ways that OneDrive and SharePoint and all the syncing of this files and data work between the machines, and trying to keep things from being confusing and cluttered and just making it easy to use. I would like to remind you folks that there's a lot of choices when it comes to these types of environments, and you're not alone. We are here to help. We want to help. If there's anything that you need, please feel free to reach out and let us know. Again, my name is Dave Groot. I'm the president and CEO of WinStar Technologies, and yes, I am Groot, and together we make IT happen. And I will leave you with one last very important message. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, but we never throw our computers out the window. And with that, I will wish you all a wonderful afternoon, and I appreciate your taking your time to join us today, and I hope to see you next month on the 18th of May at 1 o'clock. Thanks very much, everybody. Justin, how we doing? Questions?
We're doing good. No questions yet. We
right.
will reach out to Brian and just give him a more detailed explanation. But just for anybody else who was was wondering about his question. The answer is, so Microsoft has improved some of the defaults that are out of the box, but
Mhm.
if your tenant is a little bit older, then you don't benefit from those things that are applied out of the box in newer tenants. So those are things to look out for and maybe check into.
I think I would leave that message with don't assume anything, right? Go look and make sure that the policies are both on and the way you want them to be, because you can never uncrack the nut. So, okay, folks, have a great day. I do appreciate you coming. We'll talk to you soon.